So, you want to be more mindful. You've heard about the mindfulness wave on the planet and you've maybe given it a try and you haven't quite succeeded. Well, I am John. I am a wellness professional and I lived as a Buddhist monk for 6 months. I've been meditating every single day for 5 years straight since then, and it's safe to say that I have a pretty good understanding of mindfulness and how to teach it to the Western mind. So, if you want to be more mindful in your life, I'm going to give you the 3 core components that make mindfulness super accessible and easy for the average person, but you have to continue to show up and do it if you want these changes to actually take place. So here is your roadmap to making mindfulness a integrated part of your everyday life. So the first component, which is absolutely crucial to developing mindfulness, is repetition. So this is the entire game when it comes to mindfulness. This is for a couple of reasons. Because one, life is a continuum. Life is not a single point, but rather life is a series of actions that happen. I like to draw it in a wave. Another way that you could draw it is actually with a circle. And so if you aren't repetitively basically being mindful, if you are just mindful once in your life, then you might experience a transcendental state. You might experience total ecstatic bliss and joy. You might have all the secrets and answers of the universe in that one moment. But if it's only one moment, then it will end. But if you can make it a repetition, so what's actually happening in this line, another way to draw it would be to go like this, where it's a series of moments happening in a continuation, right? So this is really, really important when it comes to mindfulness. So in your stream of everyday reality, let's say, for example, this is when you wake up and this is when you go to bed, right? So you wake up and immediately you might start thinking and you catch yourself going in just this loop of thoughts. Then you're eating breakfast, then you're driving to work, then you are watching a show, then you are arguing with a coworker, now you are playing with your dog before bed, and then you're in bed and you're into unconsciousness before the pattern starts over again, right? This is how a lot of people live. They aren't mindful whatsoever, and so their life is just sort of happening to them. They're more just a participant in the flow of karma rather than actively controlling what the outcome of their life is going to be. But where mindfulness is so you might wake up in the morning and you might say, I am aware of the fact that I am brushing my teeth. And then you might say, I am aware of the fact that I am getting into my car as you're doing it. I am aware that I am talking with a coworker. I am aware that I am angry. I am aware that I am eating a banana. I am aware that I am aware. So as you can see, in order to basically have this show up enough times in our life that it actually makes a difference rather than it being completely absent, the key is that it has to keep happening over and over and over again. Mindfulness is not something that can happen once. It is something that needs to happen continuously throughout the course of your life. And you are going to fail constantly in the beginning. You are going to go on thought tangents. You are going to find yourself completely distracted and having been distracted for hours on end. But that is not the point. The point in the beginning of the practice, which is what you really want to instill, is this unconscious habit that isn't even necessary. It starts out as being conscious because you have to train yourself to do it, but you want to develop it so that it becomes unconscious, which is a tendency for your mind to basically wake up from the thought that's taking it off and then bring it back to the present moment. So you're sort of repeatedly choosing to bring your awareness to your attention and your awareness to what you're doing in the moment and continuing to do that again and again and again and again and again. And this is what it's going to look like. There's going to be breaks where you're mindful and then you're not aware of what you're doing, and then you're mindful and then you're not aware of what you're doing, and so on and so forth. And eventually the end goal, we'll put a little check down here for it, is where if we were to, I'll do 2 lines just so it looks a little bit different. This is your day, and this is the day of mindfulness. It is constantly there. It is constantly with you. It is something that you are all day long. This can only happen through repetition. This is a place that you can get to. And the benefit of being mindful all day long is when you get triggered, when you get angry, you will notice it immediately and you can let it go. When you are mindful all day, you will have an ability to concentrate for longer periods of time on the important things that you need to do to find success in your life. Let's say you're in a conversation with a partner. You can focus on the conversation better. You'll hear what they're saying more. You can reflect back to them with more intimacy and more connection, and that will help the relationship to develop. And what's so cool about mindfulness, I'm just going to erase this a little bit to make some room here. What is so cool about mindfulness is that when you practice in the beginning, it is very much like this, but it becomes an exponential curve very quickly. Because of the fact that, like, so if your relationship trajectory was to go like this, let's say, right, where, you know, it's developing over time, whatever, you interject mindfulness in it, which creates more of these beautiful moments, and that sends you up. And then you're mindful here, and that sends you up, and then you're mindful here, and it sends you up. And you're basically, it's building upon each other, and you're enabling better, effective results from your actions through consciously choosing to make good actions again and again and again. This is something that I can explain, but it's only really something that can be experienced. And so I would urge you to spend even a week dedicated to your mindfulness practice, where you continue to just try your best to be as aware as you possibly can in as many moments as you possibly can, and watch how it truly will change not only your life in the moment, but your life in the seeds that you will plant in these moments will show up for you later on in your life in many beautiful and exciting ways. So let's move on. That was repetition, the first core component to mindfulness. The next component that I want to talk about today is a thing called openness. I'm going to describe it in two ways. Openness is the term I'll use, the sort of Western term, the term that they would use in Thai, and this can be translated in different ways, but I'm going to call it sabai today. And sabai basically means like relaxed. So there's so many different reasons why this is a core component to mindfulness, but the thing that I want to talk about today is sort of nervous system regulation. And mindful states of peace and calmness, which is what is basically the core reason why so many people meditate, is because they can access more open and calm and peaceful states, and it relieves a lot of the stress and tension that you feel. And so what's happening is there's sort of two states of your nervous system. We're going to put tension versus relaxation. So your nervous system can either be tense, it can be in fight or flight mode, it can be like sort of giving mode, it can be like locked in stress, or there's the relaxed state of your nervous system where it's like a rest and digest state. It is calm, it is open. So this is ultimately what we're trying to get to, is to have this process take place where we're moving from the tension into relaxation. And so you might think that like you need to basically like meditate, or you need to be relaxed before you release tension. But the key here really is openness. It is a choice to be relaxed that you are actively making and that you are continuing to make. Whereas this process is largely one that is unconscious. So I will put some lines like this to signify that this one is unconscious, and I'll put circles like this to signify that that one is conscious. So the circle is conscious. Sorry, that's not a good C. And then the lines are unconscious, right? So you will be in a relaxed and open state periodically throughout the course of your life, which is sort of natural. Like let's say you eat a good meal, you decide to lie down on the couch. You don't have to be mindful to enter into a relaxed state. Your body can do so naturally. But what you'll find is that periodically throughout you being in these relaxed states, something will happen, whether it be an actual thing or just a mental thing, but it will basically unconsciously bring you back into tension. Some people will actually notice that like their shoulders tense up. Some people get their jaw tense and they'll have to relax it. Some people might even hold it in their head and they'll basically tap into mindfulness and they'll be like, oh, I need to relax my eyebrows. But this is a thing that happens. You will be relaxed. Some unconscious thing will bring you into tension. And so the way to get back to relaxation from this tense place, if you're really, really tense, then you might need to actually perform a nervous system regulation tool. So this could be breath work, this could be grounding, this could be hugging a person to release oxytocin. But for me, the most powerful tool to take you from tense to relaxed is mindfulness, because it is something that is always with you. It doesn't matter where you're at or what's going on around you. You can always choose your state of mind by choosing what you're focused on. And you can basically choose to, in any moment, say, regardless of what's happening around, I am going to make a conscious choice, remember, conscious, to enter into a relaxed state again. I am going to consciously choose to become more open. So I think that's enough about this. Let's talk a little bit about what openness actually feels like, because I think that that's important to understand if we want to make this a regular habit and if we want to incur more mindfulness to take place. So openness is basically like a felt experience of unclinging spaciousness. So let me see if you're open to it, to try and feel this right now. So wherever you are, you could be sitting in a chair, you could be standing, you could just be listening to this, and that's totally okay. But basically, take a deep breath, breathe in with me now. Full breath in, hold the breath in, and let it go. And see if just for a moment you can allow your awareness or your consciousness or your attention to not focus on anything specifically, but just open up to the broad experience of the room, the broad experience of how your body feels, and just the basically sensation of presence itself. So see if you can just feel that for a minute. Try not to focus on anything, but just be open. Feel the room around you. Just being present. And allowing a feeling of spaciousness to enter your consciousness. So for some people, that might be incredibly easy. For other people, that might be something that is quite difficult. And why is this? So what are we trying to get to? Let's say that this is your consciousness, and you might have a series of stimulation around you. You might have a series of things happening around you. And so your attention, which is basically your focus, right now, your focus is listening to me talk. You are understanding the words I'm saying. You're paying direct attention to the continuation of words that is coming out of me. And that is how you are able to absorb it. So if I was to ask you to shift your focus to your feet right now, if you can feel your feet, then you're using your attention, you're shifting your attention to a specific object of your experience of reality, of awareness. So when I say to be open, I'm basically asking you to keep your attention here on your direct experience of reality, on you, and your mind will have a tendency to go outwards, and it will attach to this, and then it will stay on here. So you might start thinking of a conversation that you had at work, and now you basically are analyzing the conversation, you're going in loops around the conversation, you are just basically absorbing the information from that conversation to maybe get smarter. But this can be very taxing on your nervous system, and this can cause you to be tense because maybe it was a stressful conversation, or maybe just because of the fact that your mind spends, if we look at another sort of graph here, let's say, and this might be the amount of time that you spend in your life analyzing, processing, focusing. It might be a lot. And if we look at this, if we consider this the average Westerner, this is the amount of time that they spend relaxed and open and spacious. It's way down here. So the problem with over attention and over clinging to the things around you is not that it's a bad thing to do, but it's unbalanced, right? You are overworking one system and you're underworking another, and this is, it's causing an imbalance within your system. So what we want to do is we want to bring this down and we want to bring this up and bring balance. So we want to spend more time open and spacious, and we want to spend less time with your attention being grabbed by something external and caught up in that and circling around it over and over and over again. So again, another example is you pay attention to what you're looking at out the window rather than being with your body. You pay attention to the food that you ate for lunch earlier, and so now you're outside of yourself. Here's another one where you're thinking about some cute person that you saw. That one always gets me. And so yeah, your mind is always out. It's always out. It's always out. It's always out. And so we need to consciously focus to bring that consciousness back to ourselves. This is mindfulness. We are training this habit to happen so that we can spend more time here focused on what is the most important for you, which is your experience of reality. So anytime that you find yourself where you're not open and you are sort of in a tense mental state, then you choose to come back to awareness. You choose to let go of focusing on any specific thing, and you allow yourself to just feel. Less thinking, less processing, more feeling consciousness, more feeling and perceiving your direct experience of reality. And this is one of the core components that make mindfulness accessible to Western people. All right, let's move on. The third and final core component for today that makes mindfulness basically easier and more accessible to achieve is number 3, discipline. So discipline is something that people struggle with. However, it is worth it. It's also, even though it can be difficult, because we often are victims of our sort of primal nature, let's say, where your biological organism likes comfort, and a lot of times there are things that maybe you should be doing that are uncomfortable, and so we have a tendency to maybe choose comfort over uncomfortable, and it takes discipline to overcome these techniques, right? But the thing about discipline is that it's only sort of important in the beginning, and this is why. Basically, mindfulness is something that like your body is going to resist in the beginning, but eventually you will overcome a hurdle. So let's just say that this is like point A, right? And having a regular mindfulness practice is here. And so what is happening is that it feels like an uphill battle. It feels like it takes discipline. It feels like it's uncomfortable. It is something that you have to force yourself to do. You're facing resistance. In this whole pattern, what a lot of people run into in the beginning is the things that they face are their limitations. So when you start becoming conscious of who you actually are, one of the first things that you're going to end up seeing is all of the things that you're not. You're going to see that you aren't as kind as you thought you were. You are going to see that you aren't as compassionate or generous as you thought you were. You are going to see that you have more negative thoughts about other people than you thought you would have. You're going to see that you're not as patient. But again, all of this is the reason to practice mindfulness, because when you are aware of who you actually are and the patterns that you actually have, that empowers you to be able to change it and become more patient, become more capable, and become more basically virtuous. All of the amazing things that you want, you actually will be able to develop them only when you see the areas that you're not. So the first thing that you will run into when you start your mindfulness journey always is your limitations, and it will always feel like an uphill battle. But there will come a moment, and this moment will happen for every single one of you, I promise, if you continue, where it starts to become a downhill battle. And if we take a ball here, that ball will gain momentum, and it will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And if this is the finish line, you will be crossing that finish line, and you will have discipline, you will have mindfulness, you will be somebody who has the unconscious pattern of mindfulness, and it will be something that you crave, something that you enjoy, something that fills you with love and compassion, rather than something that you have to force yourself to do. And this is because eventually this moment happens when your nervous system sees the benefit that mindfulness has for you. It'll say yes. Instead of this is something that isn't worth doing, this is something that is costing me comfort, you will actually see that this is something that is gaining you comfort, this is something that is making your life better, and then it will become something that rather than you have to sit down and force yourself to do it, you'll say, I want to be doing this because there's nothing that will fill me with the same satisfaction and peace and calmness that mindfulness will. So in order to get to this point, this is a continuous jumping, right? So we have to have the discipline, which says, even though the things I'm seeing are not good, I'm going to keep looking. Even though it takes effort to be mindful and I'm tired, I am going to keep going. Even if I find that I can't be open right now and there's something that my mind is really attached to, I am going to keep going. It is literally climbing a mountain. And this is a lot of what they'll say in the spiritual traditions, is that this is a journey of climbing a mountain. And the discipline is nothing other than taking the next step. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It also does not have to be something that is rushed. There is no sort of time limit on this. This is your journey. You can take it as quickly or as slowly as you want to, but the important thing with discipline is to never give up. NGU. Never give up. If you never give up, that is truly what discipline is. But so many people, especially us in modern society, who are conditioned to instant stimulation, instant gratification, if we don't see results immediately, then we will basically go backwards, or we will go back down, or we will feel defeated, and there will be a big cloud that happens over here, and we won't know where we're going anymore, and we won't believe that it's possible. And the way to overcome this is the same. This is mindfulness is a sort of, it teaches you through the process of doing it what you need to succeed in it. I'll say that again. Mindfulness teaches you, I don't know if I can say that again because it was a little bit of a complicated sentence, but it teaches you through the process of doing it what you need to succeed within it. So yeah, what I mean by that is basically like when mindfulness is coming back to the present moment, right? Or it is basically consciously choosing where you're going to focus your attention. So you will be on this journey and you will say, oh, okay, there's some sort of blockage, some sort of limitation that's standing in the way of my success. And the question then becomes, do you allow that thought to be the thing that drives your next action? Or do you, through mindfulness, become aware of that limiting thought, change it so that you can continue on your journey? Do you understand what's happening there, right? So through the process of climbing this mountain, you are developing mindfulness. It is literally like the Kung Fu, I can't remember the actual name of it, Karate Kid, I think, where it's like you're cleaning and through the process of cleaning, you're learning karate. It's sort of the same concept with this. I mean, that is like based off of Eastern wisdom, right? So through the process of climbing this mountain, this is the journey of meditation. This is the benefits of meditation, right? And it will have to continue. You will have to keep making choice to be mindful once you get past this hurdle. But this is really the where mindfulness is made is in this initial process that is discipline. So you need discipline, but it's also developing discipline at the same time. That is one of the things that is so beautiful about this practice, and this is why I'm so committed to my own practice and so committed to teaching this to others, because it can truly change your life. You will see a lot of people in our society talking about how they might have certain mental issues like ADHD or OCD or all of these different things. And to me, this is nothing other than an untrained mind. Now, that might be triggering to some to hear, but it is something that I have found to be true within my own personal life. It's sort of like where if you are working out at the gym, you can't expect yourself to go in and do the same things that other people are doing in the gym who have been training for 2 years and you just started. So you can choose to eliminate or reduce the amount of ADHD you feel by controlling your mind whenever you get distracted and bringing it back to the present moment. ADHD is not something that you have to be stuck with, but it is simply a pattern that happens in your mind that is basically an unconscious pattern, and through retraining your mind to do something differently, that pattern can be erased. That pattern can be deleted. That pattern, ADHD, can be erased, just like this, by doing something differently. And so remember how much power that you actually have in your life to make a difference, and you make that difference in your life through mindfulness. That's one of the best ways to do it because it's consistent, it's reliable, it is basically a clearly defined path that many thousands of people have walked before you and have guided you through. And there are some things that can guarantee success within it. And those are the 3 things that we talked about today. Repetition. Keep coming back. For those of you who liked this video, repetition. Keep watching my videos. Keep learning more. Number 2, openness. This is knowing that there will be times in your practice that you will not be as successful as you would like to be. You might have expectations of how the meditation is going to go, and you need to be open to what the journey actually is rather than trying to control the journey to make it a specific way. And number 3, discipline. This is the practice itself. We need to be mentally disciplined, and that is why we are mindful in the first place. If you do these 3 things, then mindfulness will be within your grasp. All the beautiful benefits that are waiting on the other side of that mountainous journey will be within your grasp, and you will be a completely different person at the end of it. It is worth doing. If you are interested in more content like this, again, please feel free to follow along and subscribe for more. If you are interested in talking to me directly, I do one-to-one coaching where I guide people through processes similar to this to help them with sort of any sort of mental blockage that you may be facing, but I specialize in burnout at the moment. And that's about it from me. So I do hope that you believe in yourself today. And I hope that you gain something from this, and I hope that you will commit to meditating even 5 minutes a day for a week, and just start there and watch how your life transforms from this beautiful and amazing practice, which anyone can have at their disposal just through the conscious choice to do so with any situation that they're in their life. So that's enough preaching for me. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.